Hello friends, this is kumarsaurabh. Uh, Welcome to our channel, and today's topic is exception handling in Java. Right. What is exception handling? Before going through with the exception handling, we must know that what about errors? That we should know about types of error. There are three types of error. The first one is called as syntax error. Syntax error are those error which arises due to the rules of the language which have not been followed and detected by the compiler. While the runtime error, the second type of error, arises when the program is running and the environment detects an operation that is impossible to carry out. While the third type of error is a logical error, this error arises when a program does not perform the way it was intended to achieve its goal. Right, so there are three types of error. Then, what is exception handling? An exception is an abnormal condition in a program. It is an event that disrupts the normal flow of the program. Right. So exception handling is what? It is an abnormal condition in a program. It is an event that disrupts the normal flow of the program. This is called an exception. Now, how to handle the exception? This is the topic, right? So the exception handling is one of the powerful mechanisms to handle the runtime errors so that normal flow of the application can be maintained, right? Now, what is runtime error? Just to talk about runtime errors, suppose in a program there are 8 statements and an exception arises in statement number 4. The rest of the statement, that is statement 5, 6, 7 and 8 will not be executed. Just taking an example, suppose that is statement 1, 2, 3 and in the fourth statement there is an exception that will arise. In this case, statement 5, 6, 7 and 8 are skipped and the program is terminated. Right? So 5, 6, 7 and 8 are skipped. Now, how to catch this error? Our objective is that if any particular statement arise an exception, then that exception will not be executed, but rest of the exception will execute. Right. So how to catch runtime errors? Runtime errors, we are considering the same scenario in which exception arises in statement number 4, and due to this statement number 5, 6, 7 will not be executed, and to solve this we need to catch exception. Now there are 3 statements that will run completely, no problems at all. In the statement number 4, exception arises. Now, if we put this statement number 4 inside a try block, then due to this try block, the exception will be cached by the by the cache block, and whatever the statement we will write inside the cache to be executed will execute. Right. So only statement number 4 will be skipped, control is transferred to the cache block, and statement n, 5, 6, 7 and 8 will be continued. So 5, 6, 7 and 8 are here. Now, before going through more in exception, we should know about exception classes, right? So as you know, in Java, every class inherit object class. So here in throwable class inherit object class, while throwable is inherited by exception and error classes, right? So we are concerned here about exception. So we will talk about exception only. There are so many classes which inherit exception class, like class not found exception, IO exception, AWT exception, runtime exception, and many more, right? And a few more classes which are like arithmetic exception, null pointer exception, index out of bound exception, and illegal argument exception. These are the exceptions which inherit runtime exception, right? So the system errors, and the errors are thrown by JVM and represented in the error class, right? So this is about errors and exception. Exception clause describe error caused by your program and external circumstances. These errors can be caught and handled by your program, right? So how exception handling mechanism work? We have 5 components to handle exception, right? The first one is called as try, the second one is catch, the third one is finally, the fourth one is throw, and the fifth one is throws, right? Using these 5 exceptions, five keywords, we will handle exception in our program. And I will show you in the example, right? So going through with the try catch block. In a Java program, the code that might throw an exception must be enclosed in a try block. Every try block must be followed by either a catch block or a finally block or both if you require. It must be used within a method, right? In a Java program, catch block is used to handle the exception. Multiple catch block we can place with a try block. Catch block can only be used after the try block only, like this. Example 1, try. Just write some code which might throw an exception. You can place a catch block to handle that exception, or you can place a finally, right? So there should be one always with the try block, either catch or finally, or both can be there, right? Now, how try catch block work? What is the internal working of try catch block? Suppose that if we divide a number by 0, then this object will throw an exception, right? This will throw an object of exception class, sorry. It will throw an object of exception class. Then exception class object will come in our program. If it is handled, then rest of the code will be executed. And if it is not handled, then JVM and it reaches to the JVM, then it will do 3 things in a sequence. First, it will print the exception description. Second, it will print the stack trace, like from the block where the exception arises, and the propagation schedule, and it terminates the program, right? So if we go through with a try catch block example, here is a program in which we are having an array with 5 elements. The array size is 5. Now I'm running, I'm just trying to access all the elements of this array. So I'm just putting our print method inside the for loop, and for is running from 0 to 5, right? So what happened one by one? See, in this, when we go through with the print command, it will throw an array index out of bound exception. When it will not throw when the i's value is 0, because it can easily print ARR ka 0, then ARR 1, ARR 2, ARR 3, ARR 4. But as you know, the array indexes will start from 0 to n-1. Then as soon as we try to access ARR 5, then it will throw an exception. What exception? Array index out of bound exception, but it will be cached by the catch block, and it will print whatever the statement we are having with the catch block, that is from catch, and exception is the exception details, and the rest of the code will execute and print code continues. Here is the output of this program. See, ARR 0, ARR 1, ARR 2, ARR 3. As soon as we go through with ARR 4, no problems at all. As soon as we try to access the 5th element of array, which is actually not there, ARR 5, the exception arises, and exception will propagate but handled by the catch, and the catch statement will be printed here, and the code will continue. This is actually the try and catch block, example of try and catch block. Now we can have multiple catch with the try block. See, we are having 3 catch block: array index out of bound, arithmetic exception, and a general exception. But we need to keep in our mind 2 rules. The output of this code is from catch 2 and code continues, because we are doing what? We are just dividing a number by 0 and then assigning it to that index of array which is not available. But the first exception, that is what? Arithmetic exception, right? So here we can conclude for two things. The first one is, at a time only one exception is occurred, and at a time only one catch block is executed. All catch block must be ordered from most specific to most general, that is catch for array index out of bound exception must come before catch for exception, else the code will generate compile time error, right? Thank you very much for this. In the next class, in the next session, we'll go through with the other mechanism for handling the exception, like we have gone through with try and catch today. In the next session, we'll see what is finally throw and throws. Thank you so very much. Stay tuned. Subscribe this channel. Thank you.